They say everything's bigger in Texas, but it's faster too, and that is why Toyota GR Cup North America is here, starting our season at the Grand Prix of Arlington. DJ Clark, delighted to be joined for the first time by Jonathan Grace up here in the booth, and we bring in our third member of the team, Amanda Busick, down on pit lane.
Hey DJ, and as we kick off this 2026 season for Toyota GR Cup, it's already chaos down here. We have cars on track, and to give our drivers start your engines, it's actually going to be a nice message to our drivers here. Matt Williamson from Indava on the championship car last season. I know you guys have big expectations this season. What's your message to our drivers today?
I think the message is clear. It's great weather, it's perfect conditions, so be fast, be safe, and have fun.
Excellent words from Matt Williamson. And guys, I think we summed it up down there. Be fast, have fun. We are back to racing here in about a minute and a half, guys.
It's fantastic to hear, and we love that. And Matt said it himself, Jonathan, picture-perfect Chamber of Commerce weather out here in this paddock. It is gorgeous outside.
It is. Texas is a state, DJ, that's known for its sweltering heat. Not so this weekend. It has been picturesque. And what a scene for what has been a phenomenal job. Credit to everyone that has gone behind the scenes to put this race together. You can see the pictures of it throughout the race. It's a state-of-the-art facility. It looks great. The fans love it. More importantly, DJ, the drivers seem to absolutely adore driving around this place.
Yeah, everybody we've talked to has said this is an incredible track. As we said, that weather absolutely perfect out here in racing conditions. It sits at about 67% humidity and about 66 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, just about as perfect as can be. Jeremy Fletcher and Spike Kohlbecker up in the front of this field. Will Robusto and Parker DeLong behind them. There you can see that field. Robusto for RVA Graphics, Parker DeLong behind them. In the row behind them, it's going to be Beltre Curtis and Max Schweid. Then it will be a newcomer, Joseph Bally, and Malbec Ramos, another newcomer, Sofronis and Goulart, as they come through. We're going to have to go through the rest of the field later because Lorraine McCauley from Indava getting ready to roll the green flag as the green goes, and we are racing in the 2026 season for Toyota GR Cup North America. Immediately, it's going to be a good go for Fletcher in that Copeland Motorsport machine. Tricky sector one here, a lot of technical corners, but everybody looks to be through cleanly. A little bumping and banging in the back.
Yeah, you can see Kohlbecker just sticking the nose in to try to see where he can get a move. And talking to some of the drivers, they think moves might be possible in this first sector, and DJ already issues early on.
Jason Coase off to the outside there, and that's going to be the Wex Group machine. Damage to the right front of that car. Heavy braking zone going down into the left-hander here, setting up for what we like to call the horseshoe. We've got a big coming together.
Yeah, multiple cars stacked up there. Everyone trying to get around it, but there's at least 4 cars involved. You can see the 007 trying to make its way through, and that's a pretty significant crunch. Is still at the head of the field, Fletcher, but this is going to go under caution soon.
I would have to imagine so. We'll wait for that official call from race control. Now they make their way through turn 9, or excuse me, that's turn 8, and now down into the right-hander of turn 9, carrying as much speed as possible, a 9/10 of a mile straight away. There is that full course yellow for you, Jonathan.
Yeah, and that's going to slow some things up. So this is going to be really interesting once we do go green again for Fletcher to see how he defends into what's a pretty tricky braking zone down in turn 10. But we expected chaos right at the beginning. It's a very technical opening sector of this lap, and we saw it already bite a couple drivers.
Yeah, well, let's see if we can get a replay on that a little bit later to figure out exactly what happened, but not the way some of these drivers wanted to be able to start their race. Let's talk about a little bit of what we've been able to gather about this racetrack. Obviously, this 9/10 of a mile back straightaway going to lead down into turn 10, a very tricky braking zone, faster than you think it would be, but we think this is going to be the primary overtaking opportunity. We'll talk about more of the track in a moment. We've got the replay queued up. Jonathan, let's see what happened.
Yeah, let's take a look and see. Sector 1, DJ, everyone's trying to fight for position. Those positions early on are so important because we expect overtaking to be good here at Arlington, but we just don't know. We've never raced here before, and so much of this is an unknown. If it were me behind the wheel, I too would be trying to make moves early on, but how do you balance that across a 45-minute race? Here it is. So coming through, this is that first incident.
Coase just looks like he pulled off to the outside. Yeah. Now here, that's just a spin around there in the middle. Looks like a little bit of rear to front contact.
And Beltre Curtis actually got lifted up in the air there for just a moment, and that's a shame because he's someone we thought was going to be really, really quick.
And this is Malley there, one of the drivers that we kind of had our eyes on as potentially a good runner. And there is Jason Coase off to the outside. Again, that was a very strange incident. It almost looked like maybe there was some contact coming through the final corner on the lap, and that's what sent him off to the outside, and he had some damage basically before he came to the green flag.
Yeah, it looked like there was just kind of an initial spin there for, I think it was Malley, and then Curtis just got caught up, plain and simple, and then it becomes kind of a traffic accident you'd see on the freeway. One car bookends into another. These Toyota GR Cup cars are tough as nails, and you can see actually positive Beltray is going again. So he's rejoined. I definitely saw the 5 going. He's somebody, DJ, we expect to be very, very quick. He's dropped, as timing and scoring shows, all the way to 21st, so work to do. But I would suspect he would carve his way through the field. He's still got the better part of the race to do it.
He's got the better part of the race to do it. And we're going to head down to Amanda Busick here, who's been able to catch up with a very familiar face in the GR Cup paddock, that of our reigning champion, Weston Workman.
Yeah, DJ, as we were talking about that in Davakar, this guy saw a lot of winner circle celebrations last year and took home that 2025 championship in Weston. Here on pit lane, I imagine it's pretty hard for you not being in a car.
Yeah, so all the years I ran GR Cup, I ran 2 years, and the year before I ran, they got to run in Nashville, and then this year they get to run in Arlington. So I wish I got to run a street course. I wish I was out there racing with these guys. But you got to keep progressing. Very happy for my team. Rafa Racing now, they're doing really well. BSI Racing last year. Copeland, I'm here supporting a lot of people. So just happy to be here back in the paddock, and I'm just at a racetrack. Can't complain.
What did you hear from drivers about the track?
I heard everybody likes it. This is the longest straightaway of any track we have in the U.S., so it offers a lot of good racing. There's a lot of good passing zones here, which isn't a characteristic that a lot of street courses have. So that even adds to my bigger want to be out here racing, but super happy for everybody who gets to do it.
I know there's some early predictions of who might see the championship this season in GR Cup. Who's your eye on?
I don't want to make any predictions, right? It's very early in the season. There are some guys I have my eye on who were actually very fast last year, but I think it'll be a pretty tough battle for the championship this year. As we've seen last year, there's a lot of teams now who are competitive in the series, and before that, it was really just one team who was pretty dominant. So super happy that it's a competitive series now, not only among the drivers, but among the teams as well.
I'm not sure I'll ever forget that first win with you at Sebring last year, but you're going to continue along in the SRO America paddock. We'll see you in Pirelli GT4 this season. Tell us about your year ahead.
Yeah, you sure will. So I'm partnered with Tyler Gonzalez with Rafa Racing now in the Toyota GR Supra. Super excited to keep progressing in my career and run the GT4 car now. I'm hoping we'll compete for the championship this year.
Good luck to Weston Workman this year, and for everyone listening, we will kick off that season in Sonoma, and 2 weeks from now, you'll also see Toyota GR Cup in that paddock.
Yeah, it'll be great to see them back and great to see Weston among the grid. And I want to actually talk to you, Jonathan, because I think that team he alluded to as being dominant, of course, Copeland Motorsport, winner of the first 2 series for Toyota GR Cup North America. You had a chance to talk to them this morning, and they got a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, they do. They really want to make this a championship year for them. I don't want to say that they felt like they took it personally not winning it last year, but it certainly is the case where everybody under the Copeland tent, all 6 cars, are focused forward on trying to help this team win a championship. Jeremy Fletcher, your pole sitter, looks mighty quick. He's done a lot of work over the offseason, just focusing himself on the mission ahead. Beltray Curtis, who of course was involved in that incident early on, he's going to be another one to look for. He made a huge leap in the offseason, did a ton of testing at VIR, at Sebring, and some smaller tracks down in the Virginia area. But this whole Copeland tent is putting their full weight behind those 2 drivers to try to make a difference. Peyton Fayen, of course, has made steps in the offseason. A couple new drivers under the tent as well. They've got Gresham Wagner under the tent providing some coaching. So too is John Dean. A lot of big names. I think there's a lot of weight behind this team. But let's not forget BSI Racing, your reigning championship team. Shea Holbrook runs a tight ship over there at BSI, and she doesn't mess around either.
No, she does not. And yeah, BSI obviously taking the championship last year with Weston Workman on what has to be said from Sebring on was a dominant run. Weston was good in the early stages at Circuit of the Americas and at Sonoma, but once it got to Sebring International Raceway and he broke the duck of his first victory, it was a floodgate kind of situation for Workman. Quite a few names up at the top that we do recognize. and that being Jeremy Fletcher, Parker DeLong, Will Robusto, Max Schweid, Goulart, some very familiar names there up at the top. But we've got some rookies that are coming into the series, and they look pretty good as well. We mentioned a few of them obviously taken out here early on, which is a little bit unfortunate, but the fresh crop of drivers coming into the series never fails to impress.
And you know, that's one of the beautiful things about GR Cup North America is the fact that it's not only a very, very competitive series, as you see the win variety just about every season, how closely matched these cars are. Once we do get racing, you'll get that on full display, but also what it does as a developmental tool for these drivers. This is the first rung, if you will, in Toyota's development ladder to get everybody ready for GT3 competition. GR now has a formal pipeline for doing that. A lot of that starts right here in GR Cup.
Yeah, it does, and we are seeing that take place with the likes of Gonzalez and Workman, obviously last year running and Rafa racing in that Toyota GR Supra. And it does look like the lights are out on the safety car, so we will be back to green flag racing. A 45-minute timed race. As here they come back around. By the way, Cole Becker has fallen down through the order according to our timing and scoring screen. We'll try to check on that because I didn't see him involved in any incidents.
No, and crucially, I didn't think I saw him at the start, so we're going to try to work on that to make sure that he did in fact take the start, because I do think it was Robusto and DeLong tucked right behind right from the get-go. But again, we will get that confirmed for you. Either way, Jeremy Fletcher at the sharp end. This is a great opportunity, DJ, for Fletcher to show what he's got. With Weston Workman having moved on, there is a huge opportunity for somebody to rise to the top this season in GR Cup.
And Fletcher, who ran a partial schedule last year, really showed his worth. I think particularly at him at Road America doing really well. He's going to back up the field here as they come down Cowboys Way into turn 14. This is really a chicane, 14, and it's not really listed, but we're going to call it 15. The left-hander that comes on as he gets on the power. Fletcher gets back to it, and we are back to green flag racing here at Arlington. A little bit of a look to the inside from Parker DeLong. For the most part, everybody else going to stay in line.
Yeah, DeLong again, just tucking the nose in. I'm curious. He did a lot of studying, a lot of weaving in the first sector before it went yellow. Let's see if he chooses to take a little bit of a different line as Fletcher as they run down and start to set up that long straight a couple corners away at 9.
Everybody kind of looking there in turn 3, thinking about making a move into that corner, but this is going to be the braking zone where a move can be made. But as we've seen in some of the other series here, a very difficult braking zone, as proven by our own with the stack up we had earlier on.
It is, and that wall just comes at you, and you have to get the car settled to get into that the 5, 6, and 7, and 8 complex. You can see how much curbing they're cutting to try to get around this beautiful carousel section, and now we get to business as that long straight is ever closer.
Yep, they're going to come into turn 8, come downhill, and that's one of the things that the drivers really impressed upon me in this session. A little bit of a look in behind. I think that was Max Schweid trying to take a poke on Will Robusto. But one of the things the drivers have impressed upon me is we've got a spinner there. That's the number 85 machine. That's Schletz farther back in the field. And looks like they're going to try to get themselves refired. But again, the elevation change on this track, kind of remarkable for a street circuit.
It really is. You don't typically associate street circuits with elevation, but there is. Of course, it's not like we'll see at Sonoma or later in the season as a good look at the 85. They're properly crunched on that right-hand side and pulled off the road. We'll see if they can get that sorted. Here's the move up front.
And that is going to be DeLong trying to go around the outside. Oh, Schweid gets it wrong. Barely makes contact with the tire barriers, but that's going to send him all the way down through the field. Jensen Sofronis and Power both going to try to make a play for that position. That's all the way down for about 7th now.
Really good avoidance, actually, by Sofronis earlier back to not run into the back of that RVA machine as we go full course caution once again, DJ.
Yes, we are, and we can only assume that this is for Schletz farther back in the field, denying us of what was going to be a good battle here shaping up for Parker DeLong. Down into that final corner, turn 14. There's 85. Hearing that we're not exactly sure what happened, but I think the proof is in the pudding. Damage to the right front.
Yeah, has a little bit of rubbing on the left-hand side, but pretty properly crunched there on the right front. You can see Abel pulled that car over as safely as possible there. But, you know, if there's a stricken car on the racetrack, race officials doing the best they can to keep things sharp. Here's another look at that attempted move from DeLong. Got significantly in long slide. Fletcher just a little bit longer on the brakes, and really long on the brakes. Just a little bit further back there was Will Robusto. Did a great job, DJ, of keeping that car out of the wall.
And want to give credit there to Jensen Sofronis and that bright blue machine. coming around, trying to carry that speed around the outside, seeing that checkup from him in front and making the move around.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a tricky position to be in. There's not a ton of runoff. There are in some of the big high braking zone areas to keep cars safe, but there's not a lot of margin as you typically see on a street circuit. But I think especially here in Arlington, that was something that a lot of the drivers after their first laps on this track were commenting on, is that the margins for error are really slim to none around here.
Yeah, and apologies, that was not Schleid. That was actually Will Robusto that fell back through the order. Teammates there for RVA Graphics Motorsport by Speed Syndicate. So Robusto down into 7th position right now. Ahead of him is Safronis. Hollingshead making a good move up through the field. Then Goulart, Schweid, DeLong, and of course Fletcher still holding on to that top position. Good stuff here. We've seen good flashes of racing as the field does continue to work their way around under the safety car, and the wrecking crews here taking care of that number 85 from Schlitz.
You know, it's been a long off season. I think we're all so eager to see some racing action, and this has the makings of such a good race. I'm so eager for a couple green flag laps. Of course, safety is paramount, and the race officials doing absolutely the right thing in these situations to keep everybody safe. But I think I speak for everybody when I talk about Jeremy Fletcher, Parker DeLong as well, who wants to get going again. They want to get to the front. They want to produce some good racing action for us, and this is a track that can absolutely do us. There's so many good areas to make moves and make things interesting around here.
All right, as we continue to look here, they're just working their way around under caution, and a lot of weaving here going down the back straightaway, contrary to major belief that is not necessarily to keep the tires up to temperature, although it does help. It's a lot more to clean up any clag that you're able to pick up off of that go. We are going to head down to Amanda Busick once again in pit lane, as I believe she's been able to catch up with Shea Holbrook.
Yeah, DJ, and she's got her headset off now, so I'm going to tell her what you guys were saying about her on the broadcast, saying you run a pretty tight ship over here at BSI Racing. What do you make of that description?
I'm pretty proud of that description, to be honest. That's why we're BSI built, and we won the championship last year, and we're going to do our best to win the championship this year with maybe Ethan Goulart or Ethan Ayers, one of my drivers here, but that's a compliment, and I'll take that. Thank you.
You ran me down the list of roster of what you have in driver talent this season. How does it look like for you as you plan out?
You know, I think we got to take each session by each session. You know, we can't get too ahead here. This competitive series is just unlike any other, the GR Cup here. The fans in Arlington, amazing. Thank you guys so much. I really hope to come back here. But you know what? We're going to go green here shortly, and we got to keep our head down. We've got one driver in the top 5. And, you know, in this series, you can't fall out of the top 5 when you're chasing the championship points.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Shea Holbrook, one of the best in the business, and really and truly BSI, one of the best shops in single make racing there is.
Oh yeah, I think just Weston Workman and his evolution throughout last year. So much of his success is testament to the fact that he's a remarkably talented individual that works very hard. I think a lot of it too is the fact that, as Shea said, he was BSI built last year. Talking to him at various points, right from the beginning of the season in Sonoma all the way to the end of the season near Indianapolis, and just the evolution of him personally, how he conducted himself in interviews, the mentorship role he took on in that team. I was so impressed to see a driver change that much and really come into their own talent-wise, poise-wise, composure-wise over the course of a season. Of course, a lot of that is testament to him and his character, but also the team behind him.
Yeah, it really was a perfect marriage. I mean, we obviously remember Weston from 2 years ago with that sort of Copeland cadre, as we like to call it, with Jackson Bell and Gresham Wagner and Weston being part of that big group that was seemingly always up at the front of the field. Mia Lovell there as well. Always talking about them, but seeing him blossom and come into his own, I agree with you. The composure, the professionalism, and the coolness behind the wheel, the never getting rattled is what impressed me most about Weston last year, and it was a real delight to be able to see him take those victories. All right, as we come back around there, you did see that we had a couple of the drivers coming back around that area where Schlitz was coming off of the track, getting that taken care of. We come down this 9/10 of a mile back straightaway, and you heard Weston say it himself, the longest straightaway, not of any street course in the United States, but any course in the United States. This thing is huge.
It is massive. You look at some of the big racing venues throughout the United States. Road America comes to mind. Longer than Road America. It's pretty remarkable. They've done a great job. It's bumpy, it's tricky, it's a not so straight straightaway. There's kind of a series of kinks in there, first to the right and then back to the left before slamming on the brakes at 10. It's so long, in fact, that even some of the open wheel drivers this weekend were commenting that you may pass somebody and then be at risk of being repassed. That will absolutely be the case with these GR86 Cup cars. At least we think it will be once we see some proper pack running here, hopefully in just a few minutes' time. But either way, that makes things interesting, strategic, doesn't it? Do you want to be side by side when you're going through those little switchbacks? Where do you want to be in the braking zone? When do you time a move? All things to consider on an abnormally long straightaway.
Well, we're going to have an answer to some of those questions here shortly as the lights are out on the Toyota GR Supra safety car, and we get ready to go back to green. Fletcher will lead this field around once more. That's through turn 12 right now. Now through the kink of 13 they go. As the safety car scampers off back down to pit lane. Fletcher slowing the field down as he did previously. My guess is he's going to go right about at the apex here of turn 14. He's holding them a little bit longer than he did last time. There he starts to go. It is controlled on the leader, so he is going to be going. And there is the green flag flying. We are back to good racing. Good jump there from Jeremy Fletcher. He's going to be able to hold that out up ahead of the rest of the field. And through about the first top 10, through the top 10, they are all single file.
Spike Kohlbecker in that beautiful blue car just behind, facing pressure from behind. I'm curious, where does Spike try to make that move? It was a transponder issue early on, which is why he's not showing up properly in timing and scoring, but he is out there. He is turning laps. He is in second, right behind Fletcher at the moment, and trying to hunt down that lead. We saw Kohlbecker try to make a move early on. DJ, where does he time it? Where would you time it if you were him around this beautiful track?
All right, they're going to try to see what they are able to do. Now coming through that horseshoe section, multiple lines taking place there, trying to be able to get this to work. Look at this side by side. That's going to be Robusto and Sofronis.
Yeah, that's a great move from Sofronis. He actually set that one up a couple corners back. He took a really, really narrow line earlier on in that 4 through 7 complex to set that move up. Well done. That was a beautiful move, and it was calculated a few corners ahead.
Yes, it was, but now he's going to have that problem that you were mentioning a little bit earlier in that Will Robusto is going to be directly behind that rear spoiler. Let's see if he's able to close in. That's going to be the closest battle to watch as they come down this 9/10 of a mile straightaway. Behind them, it's Power and Brunson also looking pretty close. Looked like Sofronis there, maybe taking a defensive line. Here comes Robusto thinking about coming to the inside. Now he's going to hold back in line. Meanwhile, up for the front, Kohlbecker not going to go for a move, but that does allow for Schweid and Goulart to come together, and it looked like there Robusto going for the move on Sofronis.
Yeah, there was that little switchback we talked about. They stayed liner stern, and Sofronis just behind, just pushing Robusto through those corners. And Robusto able to get just ahead. Fletcher able to hold that lead by not by much. He's just so good on that braking zone down into turn 10, but 12 is a place you can make a move as well, DJ.
Oh, a little bit sideways there. We've got a car around in the back. Unfortunately, some heavy damage.
Oh, and look at this. Be careful because it's slow right on the racing line. It's still movement up front. Spike Kohlbecker just hanging onto the rear bumper of Jeremy Fletcher up front. Are we going to get any action from race control? The benefit is that happened right near pit in. Hopefully this should not interrupt any racing action, but they stay as they were a lap ago, at least in the top 4.
And credit here to Hollingshead also being able to keep up onto the back of this group, as well as Ethan Goulart in that Endava machine. It's really starting to bring them in together. That battle we were following between Sofronis and Robusto has pulled away. As here they come into turn 4, setting up for the horseshoe.
A little bit of smoke and dust coming off the ground. Not sure if that was just debris on the racetrack. Is everybody playing around with some of the different lines? You can see the line variation there on full display as Schweid was just a little bit closer to the inside, maybe trying to do something that Jensen Sofronis was doing and use some of that different line to try to set something up before you go down into turn 9 coming up.
Well, I think that's one of the great things about this section of the track. We talked about its technical kind of characteristics, but that multiple groove line through turn 6 is really interesting. But now we're back onto the straightaway once more as they continue to push their way down. And it looks like here Fletcher's at least got himself a little bit of breathing room. He's going to hold in good stead. I'd be watching for maybe Goulart or Schweid to try to get a move. Robusto making up moves here early on, though. He's got Zach Hollingshead in his sights.
Yeah, Robusto, he's a name that you would expect to be in the championship conversation right away, but right up front, here's Spike Kohlbecker, this time to the inside.
Kohlbecker able to get that move to Long, going to try to find him back a little bit. Robusto tries to shove his nose down to the inside of Hollingshead, and by some miracle of miracles, there's no contact, but here comes Fletcher back on Spike Kohlbecker.
Oh, this is going to be a great battle all race long. Look at Spike tuck right back in. Jeremy Fletcher does not want to give up that lead, not yet.
And here comes Max Schweid trying to get involved in the conversation as well. Kohlbecker in the blue machine, trying to poke to the inside line of Fletcher. He's got a better run, lining up into turn 14. Trying to go along with him is Max Schweid. Schweid earlier on the brakes, and it's going to be Kohlbecker through to the lead, and Schweid trying to be able to take a piece.
That's a very difficult place to go side by side with the knuckle of pit in right there at the apex of a tight turn 14. But to the front of the field, Spike Kohlbecker, Jeremy Fletcher, how does he fight this one back?
He's going to at least be able to hold off Max Schweid. Kohlbecker does lead, a little bit of bumping and banging through the rest of the field. Now through turn 3 they go. A little bit of a straightaway before they get to the left-hander of turn 4. One of the trickiest braking zones on the track, but will it lead to an overtake here? It certainly thinks if you're Ethan Goulart. No, he's not going to go for it on the back of Schweid, but a lot of dust getting kicked up as these Toyota GR Cup machines say how are you in multiple languages.
I think that's some of that oil dry that the race officials put down right near the side of the opening lap incident that we saw that's kicking up some of that dust. It's not brake dust. That would be a big puff of black smoke, and these cars and how robust they are with the brake packages they have, we don't really ever see that because they're tough as nails, these GR86 Cup cars. But out front still is Spike Kohlbecker leading the field with Jeremy Fletcher just behind.
Well, we come back onto the 9/10 of a mile straightaway. Good run out of turn 9 for Spike Kohlbecker. That'll keep him off into the lead here a little bit. But as we saw on the previous lap, DeLong was able to, Kohlbecker was able to close that gap. Here comes Goulart, though, onto the back of Max Schweid. This going to be BSI Racing versus RVA Graphics Motorsport by Speed Syndicate. We heard what BSI Racing has in their sights, a defense of the championship. Does that start with Goulart? It does not, down into turn number 10.
Oh,
but here comes Robusto. He tried it on the last lap. He gets it done. Move him up into P5.
Great adaptability from Will Robusto. We tried the move, hanging it around the outside. He and Hollingsted were very respectful a couple laps ago. Changed things up, faked a little bit, dove the car to the inside, made the move stick. Hollingsted not quite done with that move yet, and Sofronis has now joined the conversation.
And you had a chance to talk to Robusto a little bit earlier. Talked about eliminating mistakes, his goal for this year.
Absolutely, yeah. He said sometimes these little things can compound and add up throughout the season. He said he wants to clean things up, not have as many weekends with little mistakes because those will pay dividends. In a series like Toyota GR Cup North America, where the machinery is identical, the setup windows are fairly narrow, and it really truly is down to the drivers, the teams, and the crew. Little mistakes and little gains can pay huge benefits or really come back to bite you. Will Robusto was saying that's something he's absolutely focusing on. And he's coming in to this weekend in Arlington and the whole season thinking championship right from the get-go because he is immediately in that conversation from his performances last year.
Well, and with his performance here today, obviously that mistake which sent him back down through the order, but we've seen him be decisive in his moves and getting his way through the course. All right, this is going to be Spike Kohlbecker starting to stretch that lead a little bit more. You know, it was a strange year last year for Kohlbecker. He was always strong, he was always there, but wasn't able to take victory until Road America of all places, and that was 2 rounds from the end.
Yes, it was, and maybe we're going to see the benefits of some of that development work he did throughout last season. He will have worked really, really hard in the off-season. You talk about some of the championship hopefuls. I think he might be at the top of that list. There's a lot of expectation on him, I think, from the team, from himself. I'm curious to catch up with him later in the season and just talk about what his mindset is coming into this year, because that's a lot of pressure to have from the outside with everybody telling you, hey, you're kind of one of the championship hopefuls. But I think the beautiful thing about this year, DJ, there's more than one. There's 3 or 4 drivers that I think realistically have a good shot here.
It reminds me a lot of what we talked about going into the beginning of last season, where when you see that as Robusto makes another move, this time on Ethan Goulart. My goodness gracious, Robusto putting on a clinic. Move him up to P5. Again, having problems with the transponder here for Mike Kohlbecker, so he is in the lead of this race, just not showing up on that timing screen on the left of your screen.
Yeah, Robusto is going to join this conversation up front in just a couple laps time. He's got just under 18 minutes to do it. This top four is kind of broken away, but I'm curious to see how quickly Will Robusto is going to reel them in now that he's at the front of this little pack.
Yeah, I mean, outright speed in there, that little bit of puff of smoke on the right front there. You can tell how hard Robusto is absolutely thrashing that car around this 2.7 mile circuit.
There's a lot of time to be gained around the streets of Arlington, DJ, and you know, with fairly limited running for everybody, it's a tricky task to learn a track that's as large as this, 2.73 miles, and it's an unknown quantity for everybody. And those who get it right up front, we're going to see that pay dividends throughout the rest of this race. I think especially late now that we've started to get under a little bit of a rhythm with some significant green flag running, and look at the contact through sector one.
Yeah, Max Schweid trying to take a little bit of a look down to the inside of Parker DeLong. That for the final podium position. He's going to do it again, taking that alternate line through the horseshoe of turn 6. It's not going to play out, and it does look like Schweid's going to have to stay in line yet again for another moment, but pressure's starting to build here for that third place position. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be music to the eyes of Will Robusto. He wants to see a healthy fight in front of him, because that's only going to slow down P3 and P4.
I completely agree. You know, and Will Robusto specifically mentioned the carousel in turn 6 when we chatted earlier this morning. He says he suspects as more of that Continental tire rubber gets laid down, we're going to see a lot of evolution. It's going to get more racy and more grippy as the race goes on, and I think we're seeing a great example of it up front, and I think he's going to use that to his benefit to maybe try to hang it out once he gets in this pack of the top 4, because he's coming.
All right, flash of the headlights here for Parker DeLong. Behind them, here comes Schweid on DeLong. There's that move down into the corner. Is it going to cross over? A little bit of contact, but they're able to make it play as we get ready to head down once again to Amanda in the pits.
This series is so fun trying to get ads in with all the action happen on track, but I wanted to add on Will Robusto, affectionately known as Bones to his team, but I was talking to him about his championship pursuit here this weekend. Guys, you are taking a look at that 77 from BSI here on pit lane. They'll try to get that car back out there as soon as possible. But on Will Robusto, he told me that it's championship or bust for him this season, and it starts right here this weekend. There's no cautiously aggressive. There's no plan to make it easy for anything out there. He wants to win, and win starting today. So with him being racy out there, I'm not surprised, guys.
Yeah, he's certainly proving that championship or bust kind of mentality. Again, up into P5 after suffering an early error down into turn 10. A great drive here for Robusto.
No, it's been great. Keeping his nickname in mind, making no bones about his championship title hopes this year.
As I glare at you in the booth for that pun. But right now, we do watch. I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen Schweid really break away from Parker DeLong. 3 wide, farther back in the field. My goodness gracious. Somehow they managed to get through that corner.
Boy, I think everybody paid attention in the drivers' meeting. This has been really hard racing, really hard-fought racing, but really clean so far early on, all things considered. That first lap incident, I think, just a characteristic of learning a new track, but going 3 wide, not an easy thing to do at any street circuit, mind you, but the streets of Arlington can be pretty wide at times, and now finally the move being made, and that's Wilson in the Eagles Canyon machine.
Yeah, it's Wilson, Fayen, and Thomas that went into that corner 3 wide. Now Fayen taking the inside line, trying to get things together. Let's take a look and set this up. That's Fayen there in the number 80 machine. Eagles Canyon making contact with Wilson, rubbing doors, and as they see that, Thomas says, "I'd like some of that, please." Dives the 70 down to the inside. That is some great heads-up racing.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Very reactive from Thomas. A new driver, first season in a proper race car as well. So huge props there. That's a lot of preparation. That's not an easy thing to do, even for folks who have been behind the wheel for a while, and they're still going at it, rubbing mirrors. Are we going to see some of those GR86 mirrors folded in? We already are on Fayen's driver's hand side, and still door-to-door with the teammate.
Yeah, Fayen's driver's hand side as well as Wilson's passenger side on both of those cars. Oh, Oh, a little bit squiggly there. This is going to be Fan and Thomas trying to sort themselves out. That's Fan, 2 drivers left on the outside of the corner. Later on the brakes goes Fan. A little bit of overcorrection mid-corner. That's going to allow for the 70 of Thomas to be able to get the run out of turn 10.
Yeah, Thomas judged that beautifully. Both drivers giving themselves plenty of room and giving each other plenty of racing room. Fan doing a great job of not closing the door. Thomas doing a great job of not washing up and then cuts the nose off to assert dominance over that position for the time being. But I don't think Fan is done.
I don't think she is either, but I'll tell you what, that was Thomas saying, this is my position, come and get it.
Absolutely, and Thomas already eyes forward to try to make another move. Can we get 2 in 1 lap? I think you might.
That's turn 14, now back onto the main straightaway, and this is going to be a carbon copy of what we saw a little bit earlier. Fan now going to be down to the inside of Thomas as they go into turn 1. Gets it done. Brilliant response there from Peyton Fan, another driver that you had a chance to speak to and really raising her game in the offseason.
Yeah, Copeland was very complimentary of Peyton's work over the offseason, saying that she's made a lot of steps and put a lot of focus to trying to improve the efforts this season. That was a veteran piece of racing, if you ask me, for someone who was not a veteran driver. So hats off to Peyton Fan. That was cool, calm, collected. That was calculated. She set that up a few corners in advance, recognized the situation in front of her, was able to capitalize. Meanwhile, we go back up front. Spike Kobecker still leading, but Jeremy Fletcher still attached to that rear bumper.
Yeah, and I think what's crucial here is we thought early on Kobecker may have been able to stretch the distance and try to be able to get things to go, but not going to be able to stretch off into the distance necessarily as much, and that's allowed for Fletcher to keep behind. We did just get a report that the 77 is out of the race. That's a Rojo. We saw them down in pit lane. That is a fuel pump issue.
Meanwhile, up front, Fletcher, I think, has gained just a little bit of ground on Kobecker. There was maybe 3 or 4 car lengths. Is now, I think, 1 car length at best. Just over 11.5 minutes to go here in the opening race on the streets of Arlington. Spike Kobecker, who made his way to the front patiently, now still holding that lead. But Fletcher, is this maybe signs of a championship battle to come? I know it's still early. We're not even through the first race of the season yet. I don't know we'd be making any big predictions, but these are 2 that are immediately in the conversation. They've run up front, and they've been quick right from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher impressing on debut, back in Road America, doing incredibly well, really since he came in farther back in the field. That is that fight. Peyton Fan been able to get ahead of both Wilson and Thomas, as Wilson and Thomas now duke it out a little bit more. Here they go, trying to come down into the corner. Fan going to hold off the inside line. That's going to be Wilson in the 90 for Eagles Canyon Racing, trying to go around the outside. Copeland Motorsports Thomas in the number 70 tries to get it. Not going to be able to play out. That's going to open up the door a little bit for Edwards behind them, as Edwards trying to get the pass done now.
I love the line variation as well. Carter Wilson doing such a good job of getting on throttle just a little bit earlier than Fan in front. See the drive off the corners. As Fan has done such a good job in the braking zones and defending. Wilson has been really strong on that launch out of the corners. And DJ, these are horsepower limited cars, I should say. 228 horsepower, but they don't weigh all that much. But that means momentum is hugely important. Carrying speed and not
big
throwing off
contact,
too much.
Peyton Fan, and that's going to be Wilson. They're getting into the side of each other. Big damage to both machines.
Yeah, that was a little bit too much side by side, and they're still banging doors.
Oh, that is, again, that 3-way fight that we've seen going on with Fan, Wilson, and Thomas. And I am amazed, testament here to Toyota, that these cars are still going, because they are built sturdy.
Yeah, you can see the dent and the damage in the side of Fan's race car, and they're still on track. We're still green. All 4 tires on the road. May not be entirely straight. They're going to need an alignment, I think, after that. But DJ, Fan now just a little bit off speed. We're going to get another look at it here. Fan in front. And a little puff of smoke, that oil dry. And this is where it all sets up, because now we're door to door. Fan comes back. Maybe just didn't see.
Yeah.
Or trying to defend, and then up in the air was Wilson. That's remarkable.
Yeah, and I have to put that on the former there, Jonathan. I think that was definitely a moment where Peyton did not see Wilson there, and that really is the only reason why you have that much contact. Meanwhile, the battle does continue on here at this point. That is Patrick Wilson leading Thomas right now. That is what has come from this battle.
Yeah, Wilson in that beautiful fighter jet livery with the afterburners on, now at the front of this field, was kind of sitting fourth gunner, and now still fighting with Thomas. Thomas wants the position.
Yeah, Wilson going to hold off. A little bit of a defensive line down into turn 12. Now the kickoff turn 13. We've seen how this turn 14 has really become a heavy overtaking opportunity, and I'll tell you what, Patrick Wilson knows that. Goes defensive over to driver's right. Here comes Thomas trying to fight back. Looking down to the inside, not able to get it done. We check back in on the battle for the lead as Fletcher has caught back up to the back of Spike Kohlbecker.
Yeah, final 10 minutes. Fletcher is hungry. He's going to try to make a move and make it now. He's had a lot of time to sit back and study Spike Kohlbecker, who was looking at the rear end of that Copeland car for the first section of this race before making his way to the front. But if these two spend too long fighting, Schweid and DeLong and Robusto behind are ready to capitalize.
Yeah, little surprised that Schweid and DeLong have separated up to this point. We have seen Robusto be able to charge up, but it's kind of what we do tend to see. Under 8 minutes left to go in the race. Lap times here, by the way, are about 2:06, 2:07s, what we're currently running right now. So that's probably going to give us 3, maybe 4 laps to go. Very aggressive line for the 15 of Kohlbecker down into turn 10. And that could open up an opportunity here for Fletcher in these final couple of corners.
And DJ, a testament to how the track is rubbered in and how hard they are pushing. The pole time from Fletcher, a 2:07.1. 2:06.9 from Fletcher is the fastest lap of the race at the moment.
Let it never be said that these drivers do not go all out at all times. There they try to be able to get their way down into turn 14, working their way on through. Want to give a huge shout out here at this point to the number 2 machine, that of course being Will Robusto, who not only has been charging through the field, but has also been able to set now Parker DeLong, who's now been able to set the fastest lap of the race in the 42 machine. DeLong just putting in the time here in P4, but those fast laps starting to close in. Big contact through the back of the field. That's Peyton Fayen, and we've got a full course yellow with heavy, heavy damage on the circuit.
Yeah, Fayen is facing the wrong way in a very precarious part of the racetrack. The other car involved will get an ID quickly, has moved on, but you hate to see that. We'll see if this ends up finishing under yellow, or if we're going to get a little bit of green flag running right at the end. But that's heavy, heavy contact for Fayen.
All right, yeah, that is some massive damage. So much so you can actually see the fuel filler cap there popped up into the air. So, oh, and there's another machine down that way. Let's take a look at a replay here. This is up for the front of the field.
This is everybody driving through still under yellow.
Oh, this is not a replay, excuse me. This is live right now that we take a look at. But yeah, and this, as you said, Jonathan, not only a precarious part of the track, but the fastest part of the track as well, which is where you never want to see an incident like this.
Well, we were talking about the probability of drivers going side by side. It's darn near a full mile long, DJ, but it's anything but straight. There are those undulations. There's a little bit of elevation. You can see an example of it there. Even those little downhill things can unweight the race car, and there is debris just littering the racetrack. So race officials doing the safe thing, doing the smart thing, keeping everybody at a reduced speed until they can get this one sorted up and cleaned away, making sure all the drivers involved are okay. We've seen already some of the abuse that these GR86 Cup cars can take. They're heavily production-based, but I think that only adds to some of the benefits. Once you throw the FIA roll cage in, the OMP safety equipment, these things are race-ready. They are battle-ready. We see how hard and how physical some of this racing gets, and these cars come away most of the time. I think the fact that a lot of these cars in the field are model year 2022 and still kicking is a testament to that.
Yeah, certainly is, and these cars, almost perfect 50-50 weight distribution, pretty much as you get, as you see, is what you get when you roll off the assembly line. These cars are actually built and manufactured in the standard Toyota assembly line, and then certain ones go, okay, you, and they're then taken over to Charlotte and kind of given the GR treatment. So the base of these cars, the spine of these cars, is exactly what you could do if you go into a Toyota dealership and buy one yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how little they change. Even still, they take their time in the GR garage to try to make these modifications as well as they can. It takes almost 200 man and woman hours per car to take these cars and completely strip them down to the bare chassis and then build them back up. And that is purely because they're adding in some of the safety equipment and the very few performance modifications, suspension among them. There's some electronics things that they do, the sequential gearbox that they put in, but the engine, untouched for the most part. It's pretty remarkable. They slap a tune on it. I was talking with some of the mechanics last season, and they were saying that they're really surprised how little they have to rebuild and maintain these engines that are being driven at full song week in and week out. 2 full races over the course of a weekend is not an easy thing on a car.
Yeah, it's a lot, and you can see by the damage there. As we take a look at the 93 machine, that's Patrick Brunson. We are on the final lap here, but while we wait for these cars to circulate, let's go down to Amanda Busick, who's got some information on the driver of that number 93.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the 93 quickly of Patrick Brunson. He's racing under that Eagles Canyon with Fast Track here this season and looking to grab a Legends Cup championship. These are for drivers that are 40 and above. And I was talking to Patrick ahead of this race, and just what the square mile here in Arlington means to him. It goes back to 1993. He was with his mother, Carlene, and rented Days of Thunder from his local Blockbuster, and 3 days later she dropped him off at the Fun Sphere that used to be here, a go-kart track with $25 and a whole day with a dream, and that's where he said his love of racing started. Well, in 1993, he also wanted to point out that it was the last year for Nolan Ryan in this area, as well as Troy Aikman leading the Cowboys to a Super Bowl. So a lot of emphasis around 1993 for Patrick Brunson, but he also wanted me to make sure that I said hello to his wife, who he went to a concert with for their first date on this property as well, and shared their first kiss on the pitcher's mound. So a lot of energy for Patrick here. I can't wait to talk to him after race number 1 in GR Cup, but he will be our top finishing legend here today.
What a special story for a driver like that, to have so many memories around here, and to not only be able to race around these very streets where he met his wife and he has all of these wonderful, wonderful core memories, but to be able to win the Legends Cup, which is awarded for the more seasoned drivers in the field, as I think they prefer to be called.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing it by some margin as well, sitting P14 overall in the aptly numbered 93 car, ahead of Jake Curry, who's sitting in 20th, so a pretty comfortable margin. And DJ, right from first practice, it looked that way.
Yeah, he's really been in good stead there. Patrick obviously been with us a couple of times here at this point, always a strong driver, always one to challenge for that Legends Cup. Him and John Dean, I think, traded that quite a bit last year. As we said earlier, we are on the last lap here, so this will come around to checkers, which means Spike Kohlbecker will start season number 4 of Toyota GR Cup North America as your points leader. He will take victory over Jeremy Flesher in a duel on the streets of Arlington.
Yeah, I think a duel is exactly right. It was really fun to watch him and Fletcher fight it out. Really hard racing, but really respectful racing. I think across the field, we saw a little bit of contact here and there. You would expect that on a street circuit. You'd expect that the first round of the season in a field with equal machinery. But all in all, DJ, I am impressed by the driving standards, especially up front. Fletcher and Kohlbecker did a really, really nice job of leaving themselves racing room. You can see how clean both of those race cars look. That's what you want to see at the end of the day.
Yeah, and quite often we do see that those drivers that have the cleaner machines like that, they win races. You don't want to be bumping and banging that much. I do think back to our inaugural season, great battle at Road America between Tyler Gonzalez and Gresham Wagner. There was a little bit of rubbing there, and we do see that up at the front of the field every now and again. But by the same token, I mean, good, clean, respectful racing from these two. And I think if you throw Max Schwein, Parker DeLong, and Will Robusto into that mix, you've got a 5-car battle for the top of this championship that I think could change around weekend to weekend. Throw in drivers like Ethan Goulart, Zach Hollingshead, I think, is one. Jensen Sofronis as well. You're looking at 8 to, I would argue, maybe 12 drivers that could win on any given weekend.
Which is pretty remarkable, and that's exactly why people come to race here in the GR Cup, is the win variety, the fact that it is so hard to come out on front, and when you do, it's deservedly so.
Yeah, and I mean, if we think about the drivers that have been able to take part in this, it's always special. But I'll tell you what's even more special is that is Spike Kohlbecker able to take that victory. He had to wait until Road America last year to be able to continue the streak of the only driver to score victories in all at that point, 3 seasons of Toyota GR Cup North America. He starts it strong here at the streets of Arlington, and he will take victory in race number 1 at the Arlington Grand Prix. A great run for him.
And crucially, looking bigger picture, 3rd in the points last year.
Yep.
He's going to head into tomorrow leading the points, DJ. If you're chasing a championship, you want to come out swinging. And next to the Rangers baseball stadium, I think he certainly has.
I see what you did there. That was well done, my friends. As right now, they take their victory lap on the way around. Little bit of that sportsmanship congratulations given between Kohlbecker and Fletcher as they came onto the first couple of corners on the track, and already a great crowd here on hand at the GP of Arlington. Just a reminder for you folks, tomorrow we will be back at you again. Starting off the day very early, but we are excited to get everything to go. As right now, they come down through these last couple of corners before they lead around onto the back straightaway for the final time. Again, under safety car conditions here because of an incident involving Peyton Fan on that back stretch. And there they go, is your winner once again, Spike Kohlbecker. Tech Sport Racing, what has become a stalwart not only in GR Cup, but indeed the SRO Motorsports Group America paddock across the board. Yeah, and this is not only big for Spike, but for the Tech Sport crew as well. We talk a lot about Copeland, we talk a lot about BSI. Tech Sport has been there right from the start too, and they are a force to be reckoned with, and they've got, I think, a great bullet in the chamber this year in Spike Kohlbecker. He's made a lot of great steps and improvements and evolution as a driver, as a young man throughout the last couple of seasons. He seems ready for a title. Yeah, it's very good to be able to see him be in this position to start things off. Here they come down the back straightaway. Again, those wreckers taking care of everything. There again, that little bit of how you doing from Jeremy Fletcher. Just a congratulations as they come down into the corner. And I love what they have done here on this circuit. Obviously, when we're down by AT&T Stadium, the iconic Dallas Cowboys star logo played out, and then the Texas Ranger logo from this side. Let's take a look at the final finishing order here, Jonathan.
Yeah, Spike Kohlbecker right up front, and look at the margin. Of course, it was under safety car. That's why it's a fraction of a second. But Fletcher just behind. He was your pole sitter. Looked mighty quick. I think we'd expect the same tomorrow. Max Schweid, someone who I think we will see more of as well. Fellow Tech Sport Racing, DeLong in 4th with Will Robusto rounding out the top 5. Sofronis, a really impressive showing for the young driver, still just in high school. Sofronis, hard to believe, his dad is a great racing driver, very active in the SRO paddock as well, and if he's reading from the scrolls of his father, I think he's going to be just fine. Jensen has already proven himself behind the wheel of a race car. Zach Hollingston racing under his own banner this year is in 7th. Ethan Goulart in 8th. Ramos, an impressive showing inside the top 10 in 9th. And it's BSI Racing's Power in 10th, DJ.
Beltray Curtis in 11th, followed by Caceres, Harrison, Dupuis, and then your Legends winner, Patrick Brunson, that we talked about a little bit earlier. As it does sound like we're going to take a look back at exactly what happened here today. An eventful start for Toyota GR Cup North America at the Arlington Grand Prix circuit. They're going to bring their way around into this horseshoe section, and a big incident to start things off. Unfortunately brought everybody to green, but that was no problem for Spike Kohlbecker and Jeremy Fletcher. Will Robusto making moves, making mistakes early on. He had that big off that sent him back down to about 7th position, but was able to fight back. Meanwhile, Kohlbecker and Fletcher continued to dice it up at the front of the field. Kohlbecker very aggressive down into turn 14. A bit of a surprising overtaking opportunity, but one that proved out well. Good action through the rest of the field, Jonathan, as we were able to watch Robusto scythe his way through some slower cars.
Yeah, and I really like the line variation, DJ. You can see in some of these highlights as it gets just a little bit beyond the limit there. there, and this was a battle that we paid attention to the whole time. Beltray Curtis carving his way up after that early contact, and speaking of contact, Peyton Fan going 3 wide. That was a battle we followed for most of the race. It came to blows towards the end of the race. We ended under caution, but it was Spike Kohlbecker who was able to hold that lead over the pole-sitting Jeremy Fletcher at the end of the day. This was the decisive moment that brought everyone to checkers behind the safety car. Peyton Fan a little bit unsighted as they went a couple cars wide, banging doors, and that slowed things right down. But not a slow start if you're Spike Kohlbecker. You want to start the season with a win. He did just that. He'll head into Sunday in the championship position.
As we go down to Amanda Busick, who's been able to catch up with your leader.
And you'll see that Continental cuff go around the neck of Spike Kohlbecker for the first win of 2026. And Spike, I would say that you might be one of the championship favorites heading into this season, and I think you would probably say that as well. But that battle with Jeremy and the rest of this field, why is this something we're going to see all season long?
The field is just so competitive this year, and we've come back to Tech Sport, and they've given me a rocket ship in testing and now the first weekend. So I can't say thanks enough to them, and such a good race. But this race was for a bigger cause. My mentor and my grandpa, who got me into racing, recently passed away. So this race was for him.
As we know, racing is full of stories. I'm going to zoom down here to what Spike Kohlbecker pointed to when he got out of that race car. Paul, thank you for the passion for racing. And that is it for race number 1 here for the Toyota GR Cup 2026 kickoff right here at the Arlington GP.
A great win for a great cause and a great circuit. We'll be back at you tomorrow. On behalf of Amanda Busick and Jonathan Grace, my name is DJ Clark. It's been a pleasure to bring you the racing action. And like I said, we'll see you tomorrow bright and early for race number 2.